Hi, everyone. Hello, Miss Anne. I don't want to say your name. How are you? Hi, everybody. Good evening, Miss Sariti. How are you? Chi Baby One. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Come on in. Olalua. Good evening. Happy Tuesday. And today is not my name. I'm nobody's auntie. I don't know. Auntie Leia. Yeah, Niger people are just interesting. That's why I was speaking to someone this morning that having a consultation, and the person like, "Hello, darling." It's like, "I'm not your darling. We're having a consultation. It's a professional interaction. There's a time and place for everything. Time and place for everything. Is imagine you go into the courthouse and I tell the judge, "Hey, good morning, darling." I'll be thrown out of court. There's some things that just like my pet peeves, like the particular court or not having a professional. Yeah, but listen, not today. It's like I see, yes, it's a migration. Just it is not just today, and I'll tell you why later on. But anyway, come on in, everybody. Yeah, I mean, there's a time and place for everything. There's a time and place for everything. It just you need to know. Yeah, and then, I'm very. It's going to be 24 years I've lived in the United States, but there's some things that's still very Nigerian about me. There were some things that just not like you just have to know. It's a when you're a room, behave like a Roman. You have to know your audience and your environment. Know where you are, kind of thing. That was just. Hello, Miss Peggy. How are you? Sleepy in case Maori, it's okay. Hi TikTok family, what's going on? Hello Facebook and YouTube family. Happy Tuesday. I hope you all have been doing well. It's been a great. I mean, we've had a wonderful. Let me knock on wood. All those from the snow place, DMV areas, and New England, y'all have gone back. You've left us in the south with our weather because we're almost in the 80s yesterday. Can y'all imagine? Like I was out in sleepless and my is it Adire or Ankara, whichever, whatever that one is. But I was like, we're outside. We're outside today. But now we're going to be going back to good evening, Epic Picture. How are you? Hello, Epic Movement. We're going to be going back. Yeah, good evening, Sister. That's much better. Thank you. And I appreciate that. Don't you think that's much better? Um, Yeah, but anyway, welcome in. This is Attorney Abisola Adebola Olale. I'm an immigration attorney. We're located in Alabama, but we represent immigration clients in all 50 states. When I tell you for real that we get that question almost every day, actually almost every day, I want to say. And a lot of people do not know, but we do represent immigration clients regardless of the state you live in. Immigration is federal practice, so it doesn't matter what state you live in. We can represent you, and we'll be glad and honored to represent you. Um, that's why we're born the same day. There's some, and yeah, we're born the same day, and yeah, it is what it is. Um, and some of my kids' friends like, "Ooh, TJ's mom, she's very African." Yeah, comes to some things that they may get away with. She ain't gonna get away with it. It is what it is. But anyway, we'll be glad to represent you. If you need to contact our office, our contact information is 334-341-4475. Visit our website at olalealawfirm.com. Email to send an email to us at info@olalealawfirm.com. We're also on WhatsApp, 334-341-4475. Same number. We do not take calls on WhatsApp. If you call us on WhatsApp, it's just going to ring. It's disabled. Don't ask me how we get it done, but if you need to talk to us, WhatsApp is just for messages. I have someone who takes your messages on WhatsApp. We'll be glad to help you with your immigration case. Again, reminder that in spite of the USCI's pause, you're still able to keep filing your cases. Nothing stops you. I had quite a number of I think I had three clients actually scheduled for February 10 biometrics appointments. I have another, talking of interviews. Let me send this lady's interview to her because I have an interview coming up y'all in Maryland. I'm hoping y'all, hello, Mr. Your Festival, y'all's weather is going to be better next month because I'm supposed to be heading down to Maryland. I'm telling you, find a shiny. Where are you at? Because I need now. It's time to make my mala. Because I just need, where I live, we don't have like my sister and my mom sent me Nigerian food. We listen, we don't judge. Um, in addition, because there are no Nigerian restaurants where I am. For someone who doesn't eat anything but Nigerian food, um, but I make some tilapia fish from time to time myself. So whenever I'm in places like that, I love to just eat. So yeah, I will be eating. So just let me know what nice restaurants are in the DMV area, specifically in Maryland. But anyway, so they're still scheduling interviews. So that's a Nigerian person also scheduled for interview. So things are happening. It's just that no final decisions being made for now. For now, because like I said, God above all. For now, they think they've paused people's lives, but when I tell you that when God, hey, Bible says, contend with those who contend with me. Hey, fight my battles. God will fight the battles, and we will stand back and hold our peace. But keep doing what you're supposed to do. Prayer doesn't mean you shouldn't be wise. Pray, but take actions that you need to take. But anyway, follow, like, share, subscribe, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn at Olale Immigration. Um, thank you, Mr. Professor. So let's talk immigration, y'all. I'm trying the best I can. I may sound really down this evening. It's been a very heavy day, but I want to talk to you guys about and some people reached out to us about Tony Evie from last week, our special guest. We'll text on WhatsApp or send an email. We'll be glad to give you his information for those who actually want someone local in Houston, Texas. But what we're talking about tonight, we are talking about. Hold on, I think I may have the word my seat. I'm wearing one of my anchors. Is it Ankara or Adire? Can I quick it? It's Ankara and Adire. Tell you how beautiful the weather was because this is so light. And I love baggy clothes. I'm really tiny. Like I'm 5 foot tall. Like I'm tiny. The people seem like, Auntie Tony voice, the baby lioness. And she will going on. Yes, it's all of me. See, Allah was Shabaka, as my mom would say. He can't make me petite as people are, but I'm just small. And not give me something big. So that's why I like my truck. I drive one of the biggest trucks you can ever find, like SUVs. Because at the Kelly like to my was sedan and doing that kind of thing. No, we got it fine. So my voice is very big. I do it okay, but it is what it is. But anyway, as even for someone who's as tiny as I am, I love baggy clothes. I don't know why. I mean, I love form-fitting tops because that's easier for me to work out in. I love. I don't love working, but my oldest son is my trainer now. Let me roll my eyes. But he has really helped me tone my arms and all that. You know, he's yeah. But when it comes to pants, I love just baggy. So I love this stuff. And shout out to Mr. Femi for sending this my way. I really appreciate that. But anyway, importance of your immigration record. If you are just joining us for the first time, okay, thank you. If you're just joining us for the first time, we come together every Tuesday, Thursdays, 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time Zone. Talk all things immigration, pray for one another, encourage one another, and if we have time, we get to questions at the end of Hello Guardian Wife, at the end of what the topic we talk about. Please do not repeat questions. Just put. I'm only 5 foot tall. Yeah, you didn't know that, Epic? You see me one of these days. I'm all about 5 foot. In 5 foot, you're going is a stretch. I think now my driver's license has 5'1". Mind your business. But yeah, 5 foot down. What do you want to do? It is what it is. That's why I have a whole deep personality. But anyway, importance of your immigration record. So I'm currently working on a case, and I'll tell you why we're talking about this topic. I'm currently working on a case, and by default, for the most part, I do FOIA requests. I don't take over cases until I've done the FOIA request of your records, because I see that a lot of people do not have a copy of their files, and then even when they have a copy of their files, it's not together, and it's bits and pieces and all that. But when you get a record from USCIS, at least you know exactly, what you're getting, right? But sometimes you may get a situation where USCI sends you a NOID and then you don't have the time for a FOIA request. Here is the importance of having your immigration record. If you are someone who is able to hire the services of a lawyer, hear me loud and clear. There's absolutely no reason why you should not have a copy of your file. Absolutely no reason why you should not have a copy of your file. I can't tell you how many times I consult with people and they say, hey, I'm going to have to do a FOIA request of your records before I can take over your case. But in situations where you have ignored, you have less than 30 days or 33 days, we don't have time for a FOIA request. I need a copy of your file, direct. And people are like, I don't have it, or oh, I just found the person I used was not a lawyer, and so they don't have it, or I can't remember. Here is why having a copy of your record, here are some reasons why having a copy of your record is very important. Number one, you need to know exactly, thank you, you need to know exactly what you are submitting or what you have submitted to USCIS. It makes no sense to me why you would not know what you submitted to USCIS. Because if you get annoyed, like I have in this case, and USCIS is saying that something in your record contradicts what you have previously submitted, how do you know what exactly you submitted if you don't have a copy of that file? So in this case, for instance, that just got retained on, they had a previous marriage case. And then this case is a VAR case. USCIS now, and then they previously from their application, their administrative records from their visa application, they've got records from that as well. So they've got information that contradicts one another. And now we have a note saying, hey, this is what you submitted when you filed for your visa. This is what you submitted when your spouse filed for you, and this is what you submitted. So explain the discrepancies. The issue we're having is this. How, and based on my consultation with the client, he was like, oh, I have all my records. I just called the lawyer and find. Come to find out that the person who had represented him all along up until now was not a lawyer. Because if you hire a lawyer, I don't know of any of my colleagues who was not going to be able to give you a copy of your file. Now, USCIS is saying in this case, explain the discrepancies. The problem we're going to have, which I told him, is this. How do we explain the discrepancy when we don't even know what the discrepancy is, besides what the note is saying? But if you've got a copy of your file from the very first thing you filed with USCIS, you can compare with so for instance, when you have when you file a VAR case, for instance, there are specific dates that you have to include in your, when you live with your abusive spouse, the last address you live with your abusive spouse. When you file your I-485, there are specific dates of your residence, your residences for the past 5 years. If you had submitted a previous I-485 with an initial case, and now you're filing a VAR case, and you don't have a copy of your previous file, then there is going to be the possibility that you're going to put in information that will contradict your first filing. And in VAR cases, for instance, part of what you have to prove is that you share the residence with your abusive spouse. If the timeline that you put in your VAR petition contradicts the timeline that you put in your initial filing, that is going to create create a hole and doubt your credibility as a petitioner, which can eventually lead to a denial of your case. So having a copy of your file helps you to avoid, nothing is guaranteed, but at least it helps you to avoid discrepancies or to be able to explain discrepancies if you have a copy of your file. Obviously, if you're able to compare, you won't even have the discrepancies to start because you can remember what it is that you submitted. Secondly, you need to know what it is that you can refer to when you have things like RFEs or NOID. If USCIS is saying things, they're pointing to issues in your case, having your file, you can go back and review your file. And if there's something that you can explain, knowing what your file says helps you to be able to explain why this discrepancy happened, or which information is accurate, or if they're both accurate, explanation of that. So it's like flying blindly. You cannot possibly be able to explain that this is the reason why, so you have an initial case, then you file another case. Memory fades, as they say. I can't even remember what I had for breakfast yesterday. So how am I supposed to remember what I put in the form 10 years ago? But if you have a copy of your file, again, when you do a FOIA request, which is absolutely very important, that, like I said, I do that by default. But in a case where you have a noise, we don't have enough time for that. So there's nothing we can do about that. We just have to go with what's happening. When you have, a situation like this, you are able to look through your file and explain any discrepancies. It is absolutely important, because not knowing what you have in your file can potentially lead to a denial of your case. That's number one. Number two, having your immigration record helps to build your credibility. It helps to build your credibility, because when you have your record, then there is a high chance that you're not going to give contradictory information on your case. If you do not have your previous file and you're responding to something, then you're going to just respond based on what you can recollect at the present moment. And that can become a problem. Now, I'll give you an example. Using the same VAWA example, for instance, when you submit your VAWA petition, I don't know of anyone who is not going to include, at the very least, a declaration, an affidavit of being able to give a timeline, and especially most people actually go through non-physical abuse. And non-physical abuse requires that you're able to explain that type of abuse, and the way you explain that type of abuse and you endured is through having an affidavit. When you submit that VAWA petition and you do not even retain a copy of your file, USCIS sends you a request for additional evidence. Most of the time, and that includes my firm, one of the things we do in giving additional evidence is to submit an updated declaration. If you do not have a copy of the initial declaration that you submitted, how would you know what exactly you are building on? What are you updating? And how would you know what it is that you actually said? So if you said you met in 2018 at McDonald's, and just using that many guys, and then you're updating your information, and you say, hey, we met at Burger King in 2019. If you've got a copy of your initial declaration, your copy of your file, which would include your initial declaration, that helps you to go back and review what you said. So at least you know that you're using that to build on this, and you're just adding additional information, not changing what you already said. By practice, everyone who is a client of mine will tell you, I don't care if it's just for instance, we sent out some packages today. One of the packages we sent out today was a response to request for evidence for medical, which basically is not. So usually in a response to request for medical, it has my cover letter, a copy of my G28 notice of appearance, a copy of the RFE for the medical, and the medical itself. That's by what, 4, 5, 6, 7 pages. And in addition to the sealed medical. As little as that file is, each client of ours will still get a copy of what we're sending, because we will scan your medical report and attach it to the file, and you get a copy of your file. So there's no, I've had people who, there was a lady that her case decided to go to, well, anyway, her case didn't go as she wanted it to, and she decided to go to another firm, to each their own. And then the attorney reached out to him and say, hey, Ms. F says she never received a copy of her file. And so that's the thing that nobody's perfect, but that's one thing no one is going to be able to say about anything, because I've got it in black and white. Once we send out anything to USCIS on behalf of a client, you get a copy of your file, you get a link. If it's something that is big, You get a link to download a copy of your file. It's something that is, a small size. Get it attached to your email along with a link to your postage, so you can track the postage. So what I did was I just sent a screenshot of the email with the link that was included to the attorney. And he goes, yeah, I figured, but would you be kind enough to just send me a courtesy cup? So she didn't even respond because she knew she already lied. But if you're hiring the services of a lawyer, be sure to request. If it's not given to you, it is part of what you pay for this. Every state bar requires, as part of your representation, that you are provided with at least one courtesy copy of your file when you are represented by counsel. Now, if you lose that file, because some people will give you electronically, some will give you paper copy, whatever. If you lose it, then obviously they can charge you for additional copies. It doesn't take anything for us to generate another link and send it to you, unless we just don't feel like you just pissed me off or something. But all jokes aside, it doesn't take anything for you to download and save a copy for your file, so that you avoid making errors that will now eventually lead to a denial of your case. At the very least, if you don't have that, and you can't get a hold of the attorney, do a FOIA request of your record. Get your record directly from USCIS, so that you have that and you're not scrambling for information at the very last minute when you need it and you've got a deadline against you. So you can file everything you want to file till Jesus comes back. If you contradict information that they already have, and keep in mind, those people are not going to tell you what they have on file for you. They're going to request the additional evidence. They're going to send you the notice of intent to deny. They want to see what you're going to come back with, because they already know what they're going to compare it with. If you have no clue what they're going to compare it with, that's a problem. So be proactive. Make sure you know exactly what's going on in your case. Keep your documents, and so that you are prepared for whatever USCIS throws your way. So hopefully that helps. And that's all she wrote, people. All right, let's get to as many questions as possible. This is just something that is recurring, and I just feel like it's important that we get a hold on it. Okay, yeah, that's my child. All right, let's see. Hello, at so how are you? Hello, Miss Tola, how are you? All right, let's go to TikTok first today. All right, let's see. What's the time? I'm hungry, y'all. I haven't really eaten much today. Hello to her. How are you? All right. So, disclaimer: responses to your questions are general in nature, nothing specific to anyone's case. Any question travel related is not going to be answered. I'm not answering any question about can you travel? Is it safe to travel? How? No, it's not going to happen. So, if your question is about travel, please expect no answer. That's something you sit down with a lawyer, just like we were talking about last week. Your case is the travel advice now is a case by case situation. See what happened. Is it safe? Is it not safe? That's something you sit down and consult with a lawyer for. Let's see. If you have asylum with court and have a VA approval on your master hearing, which one do you go with? You don't have to choose depending on how strong your asylum case is. But if you already have a VA approval, obviously you're not having to prove your case all over in court. You're just looking to be able to adjust your status in court. But that's something you get an attorney for. Age difference, how the officer see this case. You're talking, does an age difference? Age difference it's one of the factors they have to consider, but it cannot be the reason for your case not to be approved. Thank you. Only when I see you. That's nice. Appreciate that. Hello, Ghanaian wife. How are you? I know that's right. I'm 5.5, and then it's all about the personality. Hey, listen. If God doesn't give us height, we might as well have mouth. Can't even I can't even tell you how many times, like, I come out of my truck and people are like, there's a lady. They didn't go out because that's the Nigerian spot. There's a man one time went to Walmart for grocery shopping. I think I was telling the story. He goes, "Did you just come out of that truck?" "Yeah, I did." And he goes, "Why do you tiny women love big trucks?" Well, got a problem with that? It is what it is. But anyway, It's all about the personality, right? So always make copies. Is yes. I mean, I hardly deal with paper anymore. Besides printing that and sending to USCIS, but that's why it doesn't matter what part of the world I'm in. I can work from anywhere because this laptop right here in front of me, um, knock on wood, God keep protect my laptop. It's an entire mobile law firm. So I can be anywhere. People are like, hey, I need a copy, or any of my paralegals. I'm like, hey, can send me this? Well, they all have access to their files anyway. So yeah. So you don't necessarily just save a copy. Everybody, if you can save different things on your mobile device, even on my phone, I can pull up any client's case right on my phone because it's an app. It's right there as long as I have great internet. And so you just obviously we've got tons and tons of terabytes of storage. So yeah, it's important. I have a pending asylum case. Now I want to travel. So okay, like I said, no, not answer any question about travel. And I'm not sure why you had to repeat your question like 10 times. Thank you, Miss Lucky. What is the success rate for K3 visas? They hardly approve it, but it doesn't mean you can't try. Thank you, Miss Mike. I don't know why. It's a simple request. Don't repeat your question. Hello. Earring thought. Thank you. I think it was one of my has to be TJ Maxx. That's where I go treasure hunting. Uh I didn't mention anything. My kids on my removal of conditions, my green card, what to do. I didn't mention anything about. You mean you didn't? I'm not sure I understand your question, Chris. Okay. All right, let's go to. Hello, Miss Amuso. How are you? Okay. When you submit your case to USCIS and 𝒑𝒂𝒏𝒕, you receive your appointment for biometrics. This isn't neither good news or bad news. You just sent your biometrics appointment. And talking of receipt notices, I still have cases that we filed way back in June of last year that we still don't have receipt notices. If you are in that position, May, June, July, August, understand that even if you call USCIS, especially if they probably wouldn't have anything because they have not processed it. That's why you don't have the receipt notices yet. Just be patient. Just be patient. Like I told one of my clients who called again to like, listen, this is proof that you have a copy of the file. This is proof that it was delivered and signed for because we have proof of delivery. Just be patient. We're still getting receipt notices for cases filed in June of last year. So you will get it. It's ridiculous. But those who are getting their receipt notices early now and on time are those cases that we're filing when they change the filing locations. Let's see. Got this banging headache all day. We gotta correct you. Preaching epic movement. Listen. I filed for vow last year, not yet divorced. For my tax return, can I file? That's a tax question. You gotta talk to your tax professional. We will make the weather work for you here. Okay, if you say to me, so first, because I'm not sure how y'all do it 4 to 6 months out of the year. But if as long as it's hot, I'm fine. I'll be there. Good evening, Miss Jimmy. How are you? Amen, amen, amen. Hello, Miss Abena. How are you? Nice to see you. Thank you for joining. Let's see. I don't want to miss anyone's question. If a VAT is transferred in 2025 from one field office to another, then transferred again in 2020 back to the field office it was before, do you think that's a cause for concern? It may not necessarily be transferred to a field office. It may be transferred from one service center to another, and they transfer VAT cases a lot. a lot. So don't, it's not something to be alarmed. Listen, it can't even count. I mean, I think within the last week, I was just getting transferred about, it was, my email was just pinging. I was like, I had to turn it off. So there's a whole lot going on with this current administration that we really cannot say this is the reason why this is being done. Just take it one day at a time, really. Okay. I had my VA fingerprint on February. How can you have it on February 17, 2026, when we're on February 10? February 17 is still a week from today. 𝐸𝐫𝐴𝒊𝒈𝒓𝒂𝒏𝒕. Do you mean January? When can I expect my promotion determination? I mean, I can tell you. I know that's being delayed. I had the case that we got the receipt notice. I want to say sometime in October. We still haven't received it, so I had to send an email to the VA office. So I'm hopeful that they'll send it soon. Is it possible to request DS-160 submitted 9 years ago so that the applicant can know? It is. Do a FOIA request to USCIS. A lot of those FOIA records actually come back with a copy of the DS-160. If you don't see a copy of the DS-160 with the USCIS FOIA, then you can do a FOIA request to the Department of State. So I usually start with USCIS because they would have, then that's how they're able to know when people claim that they were married or not married. And Tamania, we're married, and then we come here, and then you're like, a single, and they go like, not so fast. You said you were married when we gave you the visa. So that's usually because they make it part of your record. So you can start with them and then see if they have it. They haven't stopped renewing PFDs. We're still getting extensions. That's the ones that I'm concerned about is the delay in issuance of new 𝒊𝒎𝒎𝒊𝒈𝒓 determination. So that's the one we're concerned about. Like this, we're seeing a delay in that. Okay, you mean February 2nd? Okay, so I answered the question. Hello, Miss Wilson. How are you? Good to know. Okay. Let's be patient. I filed my VA May 13. I got my receipt notice exactly 8 months. Thank you for, you said it the last time. I thank you for saying it again. So that 8 months. So just hold on. And this was May. We don't know what it is. But as long as you sent it with trackable mail, they will. I mean, you've got proof that it was delivered to them. So they will send it. They will process it. It's just taking them time. Could a marriage at the customary court in Nigeria or the federal registry? Please, could a marriage at the customary court in Nigeria, which is preferable? I don't understand your question. What do you mean, could a marriage? Are you asking where to get married? Okay. Oh, okay. So it doesn't really matter, but they're both legal for immigration purposes. And usually customary court, why would you, I don't know, but I may be wrong. I don't know if anyone who gets married in customary court. I may be wrong, but people just do engagement, which is a traditional marriage. Now, if you want to get a divorce document, I still don't recommend customary court. I usually just do affidavits, but that's what you can do. But either way, they're both legal for immigration purposes. All right, so what's your question, Ms. Uriti? How long does FOIA request take? They're trying to speed it up now, and in speeding up the request and responses, they're coming up some BS. Or a lot of my colleagues are getting the same thing, where they're saying no record was found. And even when they put all the receipt notices that the person has filed, they come back and say no record, just because they have a deadline to meet. I think there was a lawsuit recently. And I'm thinking, and you left money, work permit, and the receipt notices. How can you come back and say no record was found? So if you don't get that, they're averaging about 30 to 45 days now. You're welcome. Okay. Mr. Mike, you can call our office to schedule a consultation to discuss your case, or you can go on our website, olalayalawfirm.com. And right there on the front page is the the link to schedule your consultation, because if you call, they're just still going to give you the same information. So that's how you can get to speak with me about your case. Is it normal for VAR EAD to be pending for 15 months? Well, I talked about EAD issue, making sure that you actually had the right category. If you're expecting, if you didn't file, if you're talking about based on an approved VAR case, if you, you have to go to the processing time website and make sure it's still within normal processing time. If you're talking about the C9, which is based on the green card application, then you still have to do the same thing. But keep in mind that if you are from one of the countries that is currently in the ban, then nothing's been approved regarding those applications. Will the present ban on Nigeria affect issuance of green card of kids who just got admitted into the U.S. In the F2 category? It should not, because they're not approving anything. That there's no final adjudication to be done. That's already been concluded. However, we're seeing reports of people not getting the green cards within that's the presumed time frame that usually people get their green cards when they come with an immigrant visa. Keep in mind the immigrant visa is still good, valid for 1 year as proof of their permanent residency status. Have you applied for EAD card for anyone from 39 countries and seen movement? I heard USA just issues RFP now. What do the RFPs look like? I'm receiving an RFP for EAD applications, but there's no movement in the sense of, besides people just getting biometrics appointments scheduled, there's no movement because they're not approving of those cases. Okay, hold on 1 second. Let me go back here. Okay, Ms. Mackey, I just responded to that for your question. Chris King, I was going to answer your question, but since you decided to repeat the question several times, I'm going to skip it. Okay. Thank you for taking time to explain things to us. May you be blessed. Amen. Thank you. It's been over 3 years. I put in my VAR case promise approved after 5 months, but I haven't heard anything. It's taken about 46 months now. How about marriage green card is not moving? What's not moving about it? Okay. So again, they're processing cases. It's not about the processing of, there's a video on our page that actually explains this whole thing. They're processing cases. They're just not making the final decision, approval, denial, dismissal. So everything is still going on, except that if you are from those 39 countries, it's not applicable to the center. That's a different thing from immigrant visa freeze, unless your country is also part of the 39 countries on the travel ban. Okay. There are several group lawsuits against USCIS policy, which is true, but none of them appears to be class certified. Does this mean nonprofit plaintiffs cannot expect any relief at all? There are some that are class action, but I think you have to understand that so lawsuit doesn't necessarily, even if they're not class, it still would represent a group of people which should be class action, but not all will be certified. We just have to wait to see how it is going to be, how the federal courts will rule on that. I'm hopeful that it will benefit people. But I know that there are some, for instance, from my home country, Nigerians, there are plaintiffs that are representing Nigerians as far as a class action. So I'm not sure where you're from, but I can't speak to any other country. Okay. You're not my attorney because I learned about you late. That's okay. However, I want to say thank you so much for what you do, from your daily quotes to your inspiring faith that helps keep anxiety away. Thank you. Thank you for the support. It is all appreciated. Okay, how long is, okay, I already answered that question. All right, people. I'm going to. I think we just. I think I got through a whole lot. Um, if you get divorced before your oath ceremony, is that a problem? Applied on the 5-year rule. If you apply based on 5 years, that has nothing to do with marital union. So, uh, oh my God, forgive me. See, it's a simple request. Don't repeat your question. I mean, it's. Let me roll my eyes. I filed for VAWA since December 2020, but my case is still pending. What do I do? Sit down with the lawyer to figure out what's going on. That's beyond. That was already beyond outside of my personal time. I was denied citizenship. So, Chris King, I'm just going to give you a second chance. I was denied citizenship interview because I didn't include my kids, which I did because I include my kids, which I did not during my green card interview, or you were denied your citizenship application. Okay, so what's your question? So what's your question? You you just said forgive me for repeating question, then you put the question again. Okay. All right. So y'all, listen. This whole pause is going to get to you if you allow it. It doesn't mean it's not real. We're not in denial. That's not what's going on. But whatever it is that your mind entertains is what's going to occupy your entire soul. So that's why you cannot dwell on something that you cannot change. We can't change it. We can change it on our knees before the altar of grace. And when we do that, we sit down and we understand that it's now no longer in our hands. It's now in the hands of God. And that's why yesterday I was just thinking, because I've had so many consult, all my consult, half of my consults in the last 4 consultations. So I think Thursday, Friday, yesterday. It's been about the pause and all that. So it wears us down, and understandably so, because it's like people are frustrated, people are tired, and people are like, you know what, they can't continue my lolly. But see, the devil cannot win. God hasn't brought us this far to leave us now. It's impossible. It's impossible. It is not man that he should lie. So that means definitely, if it is your purpose to be in this country, and I do not believe that God has brought anyone here in error or by mistake, that means that what that purpose is has to be fulfilled. Your destiny must be achieved. So this whole thing is just the enemy's ploy to distract you from where your destiny is leading you to, from the final destination. And we cannot allow that. We can't. You've got to, even when you don't feel like it, you've got to let that faith be louder than the fear. And yes, things are a pause. Listen, I love it when we get approvals. I love to be able to share the stories. I love to be able to see lives change when we get the green cards, and people will be able to work that did not know, or you filed the wrong category and you finally filed the, consult with us and be able to get. It's great. But then sometimes God will teach you patience to understand that even when things are not going the way you planned or you thought they would you still trust Him? And that is the test for us at this point. I've consulted with people that have lost their jobs or on the verge of losing their jobs because they don't have the extension that we used to have. They don't have work permits. And it's like, but the devil cannot win. The devil cannot win. There is nowhere, you know, I have never seen the righteous forsaken, or his descendants begging for bread. It's impossible for us to fail. It may look like there's no way out, life is in limbo, but just hold on. Get when you get to when your state of mind gets to that place where the devil wants you to doubt and to just give up. Get on your knees and fight your battles on your knees, knowing that it is God who remains in control, nobody else. And I'm telling myself that today because one of my clients, um, Miss J came to my firm. She met with me in December. She has had an approved vow petition since 2000. Check that real quick. Since 2022. Unfortunately, and this includes her child as well. Unfortunately, she got someone who, this is actually a law firm that represented her, and yeah, it's a law firm, and they did not respond to her I-45 RFE for her and her child on time, and so the I-45 green card applications were denied 3 years ago. And after the denial, rather than they take responsibility for what happened, they still said, "Oh, it was," they tried to pass it up as USCI's error. So, but it's no big deal in the sense of, with green card application, especially under the Biden administration, you're found to reopen, and especially if you're now sending the medical, and USCI's will usually reopen your case. The problem, however, is when they filed the I-290B 2023, they did not file it within the 33-day period. So the second time around, again, they dropped the ball on this lady and her child that had spent thousands of dollars. And they kept giving her the runaround, telling her that, oh, it's going to be approved and all that. Oh, it's going to be approved and all. I think then that one was denied. And then they filed yet another I-290B saying that USCI has wrongly denied that one, but there was no wrong denial because they did not file it during the time frame it was supposed to be filed. So she got tired, and someone referred. No, I think she actually found us on Instagram was referred. I can't remember what she said. So she's finally considering, and I told her the truth, like, this is what is happening. They did not file it. This is a time frame that it was supposed to be filed. They didn't file it until about 2 weeks after the deadline. So there's no way, and then there's no reason why USCIS is going to sit down on an I-290 for an I-45 for 3 years. Long story short, we gave her some clarity, and so this lady had spent the last 3 years thinking that they were going to reopen this case, only for her to know that even if USCIS ended up opening it, it was still going to be denied. So we had to start all over again. So we got on. It was during the holiday season. We got all of that filed, and so once we got back from, for her and her child, once we got back from the holiday, we sent her the documents to sign and review so we can get it done. I'm looking at her medical and her son's medical right here on the floor of my own office here. And Miss J was one of the clients that would contact us and keep in contact with Carla, was a paralegal in her case, or is the paralegal in her case. We didn't get anything from her, sent her emails, calls, nothing. And so today, I got a call from her friend and coworker to let us know that she unfortunately was killed. She was killed about 2.5 weeks ago. This lady fought for years, just to make sure that her and her child got their green cards, only to be deceived. And finally, when it looked like she had some answers and we're on the right path, this happened. So we got a 10-year-old kid who is without the only parent that he had. So I say all this to say, sometimes it is, when I say faith over fear, just keep hoping against hope. It's been a heavy, heavy day. Ugh. But I'm asking and I'm covering your prayers for this young boy. Keep him in your prayers. And I'm praying that the day will come, because now this is going to be something that I'm going to have to. I'm praying that the day will come where I will come back and be able to share testimony that his case was improved. That is my prayer. And that's what I put before the altar of grace. So, regardless of what it is that you're going through, know that God remains God. Sometimes it's hard to get on your knees and pray because you're thinking it was a hard day today. I'm not going to lie. And I had to be in court, but that's been on my mind all day. Like I said, her medical is right here. Her son's medical is right here. In over 10 years of practice, this is the first time I'm dealing with something like this. There's no matter how to deal with it, but I know that God will take care of this kid. So please pray for him. Please keep him in your prayers. So, regardless of what you may be going through, huh, you don't know what greater test somebody else has. I'll see you guys next time.